Donald Glover, or known as Childish Gambino, is one of the most interesting talents we have in Hollywood right now. He kind of does it all when it comes to Hollywood. He sings, he acts, writes, directs, stand-up, voice acts, you name it, he probably has tried it out. Not only has his work earned him Golden Globes, Emmys, and Grammys, but he's so popular that he doesn't even show up for some of the awards.
Obviously, we're not Donald.
So this is another very specifically timed video due to his work in Lion King that was released last week. So we're going to take a look at his career and see how much his work has actually overlapped with itself. Fair warning, some of these are better than others. I decided to throw out the connection of him being in The Martian along with the episode of the space simulation and Community because I thought that probably wasn't as strong as the other ones. Therefore, we're just doing 4. Here we go. Number 4 goes out to his references of Rihanna and working with Rihanna. So in some of his early work as Childish Gambino, he made several references to her. First, in one of his early EPs, in the song Freaks and Geeks, he references her.
And with the baddest like we tag team Rihanna fly girl.
And then later, in his first debut album Camp, in the song Sunrise.
And the fly Rihanna girls be drinking my coconut water and I'm looking at a butt.
Now when these songs were released, he was mostly just known for television, both writing and acting, but he was trying to get his music career taken off. So at the time, Rihanna was huge, so there was no way he could have known that he would eventually work with her in the capacity that he is now. As we saw earlier this year, they both released a film together, Guava Island, on Amazon Prime, and who would have thought that within that video, he would be the one taking all the songs and she doesn't get any singing parts.
You'll feel like summertime.
So let's take that video back in time, show that to the young Childish Gambino, and just completely blow his mind by that fact. Number 3 goes out to The Lion King. So most everybody knows by now that he has starred as the main character Simba in this new Disney remake. Now this is just a fun, clever little reference to make this connection, but if you remember from his earlier track as Childish Gambino, 3005, he has the very clever line,
Go why is you lying? Girl, why you Mufasa?
Again, at the time of recording this, there is no way he could have ever imagined possibly starring in this movie. The only thing that would make this connection a little bit better if he played Mufasa, but thank God that he did not play Mufasa. Number 2 goes out to a movie that he starred in last year, probably one of the biggest franchises of all time, and that is Star Wars. So if you remember, last year, Solo, a Star Wars movie, I know it's hard to remember because not a lot of people saw this movie, but he was given the part of Lando, the side character to Han Solo's backstory, and he did a pretty good job at it. The fun part about this, though, is this wasn't the only Star Wars adaptation that he was a part of. Back when Community was in its peak of television, they had a lot of paintball episodes. One of them specifically was a Star Wars themed, and throughout the entire show, it was a joke between him and his sidekick Abed of who was going to play Han Solo. And eventually, Abed kind of won that bet. So there you go. Donald Glover played Han Solo's sidekick in 2 different Star Wars adaptations. Number 1, and this is probably the most complex, overlapping theme of his career. So let me start by painting the picture. This was back late 2000s, probably 2008, 2009, when superhero movies were just kind of beginning to peak. And one of the main series at that point was the original Spider-Man trilogy, and it was announced at this point that Tobey Maguire was no longer going to take the role of Spider-Man, and they were looking for a new one to reboot this franchise. Now this was far before Andrew Garfield was decided, and way before Tom Holland was even considered to be a part of the MCU. So let's just look at Donald's stand-up to kind of figure out what exactly happened.
And maybe, Spider-Man, maybe he doesn't have to be white. Maybe he can be black or Hispanic or something like that. And then somebody put a big picture of me in the comments. It was like, Donald Glover can play Spider-Man. He's nerdy. And I was like, okay. And somebody sent that to me, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll put that up. So I put it up on my Twitter, and I was like, oh, Donald for Spider-Man, let's do this.
Spider-Man should be black. I vote for Glover instead.
So because of this campaign, because people were fighting for him to be the first black Spider-Man, Community threw out a reference for this in the opening of Season 2. Now looking back, we know that he was not given the part of Spider-Man, and he probably should have over Andrew Garfield, but instead what this started was a campaign for there to be a black Spider-Man at some point in time. Then comes Miles Morales. So Miles Morales, as many of us know now from Into the Spider-Verse, is a new version of Spider-Man, and his first appearance was in 2011. The creator of this character, Brian Michael Bendis, has actually acknowledge that this character came from the influence of Donald Glover on Community in those Spider-Man pajamas, which is absolutely insane. Not only that, but later in one of the future Spider-Man cartoons, Donald Glover actually had the chance to voice Miles Morales.
My name is Miles Morales, and I'm Spider-Man.
But it doesn't just stop there. Fast forward to Into the Spider-Verse, where pretty much the whole world knows who Miles Morales is at this point, right? His dad in that movie is played by Brian Tyree Henry, who plays Donald Glover's cousin in Donald Glover's show Atlanta. And that's not even all of it. Do you remember in that movie Miles' uncle Aaron, who eventually becomes the Prowler? Yeah. Do you also remember in Spider-Man Homecoming when Donald Glover played that character?
I don't want those weapons in this neighborhood. I got a nephew who live here.
And finally, if you watch Into the Spider-Verse, you can see his Uncle Aaron watching TV and what's on the TV, but that scene from Community where Donald Glover is in the Spider-Man pajamas that eventually influenced this movie. So just so we're tracking and on the same page, people campaign for him to be Spider-Man. He wears Spider-Man pajamas on Community, which influences the character of Miles Morales, which he eventually plays, and he also plays his uncle, and in his other show, his cousin plays the dad in the movie, which the movie then references back to Community. I think I got that all right. I'm sure there's probably more to it that I'm missing, and probably more to this in the future, because he has this deep connection with Spider-Man that I don't think is going to go away. There you go. There's my top 5 if you're kind of the space thing, overlapping connections to Donald Glover's career. Either way, this guy's incredible, and I cannot wait to see how his work continues to overlap in the future. So if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you next time.